Hello, here we are again with Muki Tenenbaum. We are exploring through this series of videos his philosophy, his disillusionism, and his misalgic theory about human behavior as a way of avoiding or preventing suffering. And on a weekly basis, for a while now, we've been covering the news. We've been trying to keep up with daily events as an excuse, of course, for illustrating some concepts and for the purpose of harboring discussions that have to do with his philosophy. We are now in early May 2021, and all over the news, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are there again. This time it's because in Turkey in particular, a couple of very big exchanges have closed. Lots of money is missing, and there is a conflict there between the Turkish state and many people doing transactions with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So we are going to use this bit of news that it's all over the media now in order to discuss Bitcoin in particular and cryptocurrency in general from a disillusionist point of view.
Well, yes, the news are not only related to Turkey and the exchanges, the Bitcoin exchanges. When people don't know what they are, the Bitcoin exchanges sounds like a place where I give you a Bitcoin, give me another one. That's how it sounds. It sounds like a barter, yes, like a barter house. But the main issue, I think, or the news that provoke a lot of people to ask me about it, is the news that they have gone from 0 to 100 in 7 seconds. That means the prices are skyrocketed, and then it went down for another 10%. And I don't know what it is now. Really, I follow the Bitcoin only for general knowledge purposes. But the issue is, what is a Bitcoin? Everybody's talking about Bitcoin. This is a question I've been asked many times. Okay. First, they asked me, should I invest in Bitcoin? I said, do you know what is a Bitcoin? No, I don't. so would you invest in something you have no idea about? Yes, but it's going up. Sometimes the sea goes up, you know. That doesn't mean you buy the sea, yes, you're going up. So first of all, let me explain what is Bitcoin. What is a cryptocurrency? Well, Bitcoin, in fact, is the first cryptocurrency. That's very important. There are many. There are Ether, and I can really study it. There is cryptocurrencies related to a lot of things, and they all based on a technology that was invented, a brilliant technology called blockchain. It allows a apparently quite safe way of doing transactions without the fear of being hacked, and it permits to fraction certain assets into little pieces. There's many things. I'm not going to go into them. Brilliant idea. Bitcoin is just one. It is the way it came out from it, and it became a currency, a way of a currency. And that's how it's presented. It's presented like a coin, yes, like a currency. And that currency is bought and sold over the internet. Now, I want to differentiate this from digital money. Okay, this is very important because before, of course, barter was the first way we heard about commerce, and then appears the gold, which was the main way of replacing the barter. And that's a brilliant idea because you have gold, and gold allows you to freeze. We talked about it. To freeze your sufferings into something today's money, and then it was gold, and then you could exchange and use it whenever you want. It was great. Plato used to say that everything becomes gold, and gold becomes into everything. It's fungible to everything. Brilliant thing, great thing. And then currency came out, and the currency was based on the GDP of countries. First of all, it used to represent the gold the country had. Why do you need the gold? I'll give you a piece of paper, and I have the gold. That was the whole idea. I have this bar of gold. Here is the paper. Every time I issue a paper, is because I have a bar of gold. This is very interesting. In a parenthesis, I want to tell you that today you can buy gold in a bank, as you probably know, and you can buy physical gold and paper gold. Now, paper gold is also, it's like money was supposed to be related to gold. But funnily enough, there is more paper gold than gold. And that's an issue in itself. We will not talk about it today. But in the case of the currency, this started happening. So when country says, why do I need the gold? I will issue the currency. That happened many times, and it creates something we all know as inflation. Inflation is the worth of the money goes down because the backing, because it dilutes. It's like taking the same cake and cutting it in smaller and smaller portions. And we know that, and also because you could also compare one currency to another. Yeah, so if the dollar goes up and the euro goes down, but all these currencies, all these modern currencies, do not have gold behind. They have the GDP, the gross, the GNP, gross national product, yes, of a country, and that gross product, that means all the country, all what make a country, it's the backing of the dollar. Why do you believe in the dollar? Because out there is the US. Why you don't believe in the Argentinian peso? Because Argentina is behind the peso. Okay, and Argentina, of course, does not pay its debts. We all know what these countries are doing, and this is inflation. The money became from metal to paper, and from paper to numbers, and that is a great thing. First of all, let me tell you, it is fantastic. Every time we went into the next step, the commerce in the world got, it was on steroids, got a big stimulant, and people started being able to sell and buy from each other, not in a barter way, but also, again, every time it became more and more. And when digital money appeared, eBay and companies and Amazon and countries like that could start working, and you need taking the check, even your own paper, yes, the check, or paying, even not a credit card. It's already bank money. It is somewhere, and you never see the paper. You ever going to see the paper again? But you do this and this and this. And the next time you have a shirt. Now, not just a shirt, Florencio. The shirt you want. Why? Because now the market is huge. You don't have to go to the shirt shop that is around the corner and take whatever there is there. Now you can really choose. So what do you say about all this, Florencio, before we continue to the Bitcoin?
I think I see the path you are drawing. It's a path of increasing abstraction. In the beginning, you have barter with actual goods. Then you represent them with gold, which is great, as you say, because it's easier to divide and it's easier to store. And then you replace gold with paper money, with fiat money that you can just print. And then you go into electronic money. And I see how this all points in the direction of a complete abstraction, such as Bitcoin. But I think there's a common denominator in every illusion we have discussed, and I guess money is one of these illusions. That is that there are material, there are concrete elements intertwined with the illusionary bits. And I think we are pointing, or you are pointing, in a direction in which these material elements are fewer and fewer. And in the end, it's maybe just pure illusion. It's just a complete and absolute abstraction.
Well, again, you were describing the first thing is that we talk about illusions, and when we talk about illusions, disillusionism is about illusions. We always say the state, for example, or religion, or your family. Two things important about them. If tomorrow you have an attack of amnesia, you have no family, no country, no God. It's gone. So it is deposited in your memory, like your Bitcoin code. It's all in your memory.
But now, the value of my dollars is also there. I'll have the paper,
of course,
the green paper, but they'll have no value for me.
But you, of course, nobody is there looking at the paper every day, see if they are all there. That would be very, very unusual for people to do that. But if you take this abstraction that you're talking about, yes, has served its purpose. Okay, every illusion, behind every illusion, there is a guy with a gun. There is no country, there is no law, there is nothing. If there is no, you cannot be enforced. And enforce
Mm-hmm.
that means with a gun, yes.
Mm.
And as I said, sometimes at the beginning, at the end of every process, there is a guy with a sandwich, because we're talking about human beings at the end of every illusion. But at the beginning, there is a guy with a gun. Okay, without the guy with the gun, there is no illusions.
Mm.
So the illusions also need some physical presence, whatever. So it has to be a building for where the president lives, or a flag, or currency, or money, yes, or a passport. And if it's a religion, a church, a cross, this, that. And if it's a family, well, you also have certain things that has to do physical to become a family, house, or whatever it is. So all these have a physical presence. Bitcoin is the ultimate illusion. Zero, has nothing, has no physical presence. Well, you need a computer, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need a
Mm-hmm.
computer to house it. But it's really, we're really talking about any computer of any color. Imagine if you had a country, but the president house is a shack. That wouldn't work well, would it? Or a religion that they have a symbol but is falling into pieces. That doesn't work. Okay, so you can have it in your phone. You can have it in your broken phone. The one that people go, with the glass broken phones. That's very common. That people fail, or they have children that have destroyed their phones, and they do that with bitcoins. And maybe they're moving, I don't know, $1 million of bitcoins in that little thing. So there must be a relationship, because of the epics, between the material part and the illusory part. But when everything is illusion, that's what Bitcoin. So what is behind Bitcoin? If the GDP of a country is behind a currency, what do you have behind the Bitcoin? The answer is scarcity. What do you mean scarcity? Scarcity. The only reason Bitcoin has risen in value is because it's scarce. Now, there is a lot of things that are scarcity. Yes, you can think of that. There is a scarcity of stones in the middle of my house. I don't have a mountain in my house. That doesn't make it valued. I will not buy mountains because I don't have one in my house. So why scarcity in itself? Remember one thing, we spoke about it and we mentioned several times. Human beings, like every other animal, works well and functions well in scarcity times, never in abundance. So scarcity is an attraction. If there is not enough, I should have it. That is, I make the reason for me to have a Bitcoin, besides that I don't understand how it works, I don't understand who is behind it, and I know that if I lose the code, I will lose the whole money. Why do I go and buy Bitcoin? The answer is because everybody buys it, because the price is going up and I may lose on it, and because it's scarce. And automatically I'm attracted to something that may be not enough. One day I will need it. But when will you need Bitcoin? What is the situation in which you would say, I wish I had a Bitcoin? But what? So it is the mother of all illusions, or I would say the granddaughter of all illusions.
But speaking about illusions in plural and their family relationships, mothers and daughters and granddaughters, you mentioned before enforcement, and you mentioned before quite literally guys with guns. And I want to ask you about the relationship between different illusions and the relationship between national states, such as the Turkish national state, with its central bank and its enforcement agencies, and its guys with guns, many of them in this case, and this new type of illusions that are cryptocurrencies in general and Bitcoin in particular. How do they get along? how do they relate to one another?
Well, first of all, let's put it this way. We know that certain illusions get along very well. The Saudi Arabia illusion and the Muslim, the Wahhabi Muslim branch of the illusion get fantastically well. There are others who do not get well among themselves, between, for example, Saudi Arabia and Iran, Pakistan and India, yes. There are some families, I'm sure the Capuletos and the Montañez did not get well. So sometimes, but in the case of Bitcoin, there is no other country on the other side. So many countries have few countries have choose to join the foe. If you cannot beat somebody, just join him. And Switzerland and many other countries have said, okay, come on, Bitcoin too. No, not only Swiss francs, not only dollars. We accept Bitcoin too. But countries like Turkey are not happy at all that the Turkish lira, which is already quite a weak currency, will have to compete with a currency that does not even have a country that could come and says, if you don't accept dollars, I will not accept Turkish lira. I mean, there is nobody else to. So they are trying to forbid it. They forbid buying and selling stuff with bitcoins. There is all kind of way. There are countries that it's totally forbidden. China is totally forbidden the Bitcoin. And when I'm talking Bitcoin, I'm talking about all cryptocurrencies. When Bitcoin is, of course, the most famous and the most important of them. And they are trying to find new ways to use Bitcoins, or again, not Bitcoins, but not really the coins, but you remember when I spoke about the technology. So if I want to buy a Renoir, and I, of course, cannot buy a Renoir, maybe 1,000 people can all of us get a little piece. And how do we do it? We use the blockchain system, the one that is behind Bitcoin. But Bitcoin itself, as I say, I don't see myself when they say, I wish I had a Bitcoin to do this. Of course, I wish I had a Bitcoin that I bought a Bitcoin for 10,000 and sold it for 30,000. That I wish, but not only with Bitcoin, it could be also with sheepskin, and it doesn't matter.
So one last question, I think, in this direction. We have mentioned before that illusions are relief, illusions are solutions for different types of suffering, and that's why they appear. That's how they function for us. They allow us to sleepwalk and somehow protect us from fear or from different types of suffering. But what is the suffering involved in this particular illusion? Because Bitcoin would not protect me from a foreign invasion. It would not harm, it would not help me if I get in harm's way. But what is the suffering involved in this new illusion?
You could use the word greed. Just I want to have as much money, and I don't want to lose on the opportunity, and then I will say, why didn't I buy Bitcoin when it was 10,000? I should have done it. And they told me yes, or everybody's buying Bitcoin. I should have a Bitcoin too. And somebody sits in a bar. So how is your Bitcoin doing? And you have to tell them how your Bitcoin. You don't know what your Bitcoin is. You don't have any Bitcoins. So it has to do with imitation. I was in Israel when they began importing Subaru cars, that Japanese cars, they were quite cheap. Everybody bought a Subaru. At some point, 50% of all the cars were white Subarus. Why they were white Subarus, Florencio? Because the other people have Subarus, white Subarus. So there is an imitation part, and there is a pretext. Oh, it gives me anonymity. You see, I need, and again, anonymity is okay if you have, it makes sense if you are a criminal, or if you try to have money that has not been declared. Yes. But that we're not talking about that. Or because you're watching porn and you don't want somebody to see that you're watching porn. I don't know. But it is a pretext. 90% of the cases, it's a pretext. People have a Bitcoin because they don't want to miss out. And they also want to be like everybody else. Of course, the greed, that thing that is great about human beings, that the greed and scarcity on the other side, talking to you. Yes. Remember, today you have a Bitcoin, tomorrow you may not have one.
Amazing. We'll go back to this very complicated subject, I'm sure, but at least it's dealt with. It's mentioned in our growing encyclopedia of videos and arguments, but we are out of time now. So see you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.